Joining me now is conservative attorney George Conway. So I just wanted to start with this big question. I mean, he clearly is ranting and raving and a little bit losing his mind outside of the courtroom.
Whatever he had left.
Well, his adult children are all going to testify over the next 9 days. You've followed him a long time. I mean, you've watched him. How do you think this is all impacting him psychologically?
Well, you can see it. You can see it in the clips. He's making mistakes. He's babbling incoherently even more than usual. This is really striking, as your intro pointed out, at the heart of his persona. I mean, this is who he was. He was the mogul. He was the mogul with The Apprentice, and he's been that in New York for 50 years. And now it's coming crashing down. He's already been found to have committed fraud, that his books and records, his statements of financial condition are false, and the judge has already ruled that there was no triable issue of fact on whether or not they were false. And as a result, the judge ordered that the Trump's and the Trump organization's ability to do business in the state of New York should be invalidated. And that puts him out of business, which means he's going to have to liquidate everything, including places like Mar-a-Lago, which are owned by New York LLCs. But then the question of, well, how much of the proceeds of those sales, when he has to be put out of business, go to the state of New York? And that's what this is about. And it tells you a lot.
Yeah,
what tells you a lot here is the witness list. Who's calling these witnesses?
Yes.
The state is calling Eric, Don Jr., Ivanka, and Donald himself, which tells you something. They don't have a story. They don't have a story to explain the two sets of books that Alan Weisselberg kept, where you were reporting one thing to the tax authorities and reporting another thing to banks, or for bragging purposes. And the documents, that, as the judge said in his opinion, it's a document case, and the documents, some of the documents had lies, but they don't lie about the fact that they show that it was all fake.
All of it. So let's go just back to what could potentially happen here, because when you just said Mar-a-Lago could be liquidated, I think people might be like, wait, what? Because isn't he rich? He's already been convicted of fraud here, but what the total size of this? It sounds like your belief is that he could have to sell a lot of his assets. Yeah. He doesn't have liquid funding to pay this.
Right. He can't. In other words, he cannot operate a business in the state of New York if Justice Engoron's decision so far stands. He will lose his certificate to the extent he has foreign corporations or foreign entities, meaning out-of-state entities, doing business in New York. Their right to do business in New York is canceled, as is the certificates of incorporation of the various LLCs and companies that he himself owns that are incorporated in New York. So he can't do business. And then, the answer is that the result will be everything's put into receivership and has to be sold. And obviously the shareholders will get their money, except to the extent that this trial finds that some of the money should go to the state. So this is a death blow to Trump's businesses.
Huge impact. Now, Trump is testifying coming up in a week. He could took the fifth nearly 450 times.
Well, I think it was. Yes, 440. Yeah, 440.
440. Okay, 440 for 50.
Eric was 500. Right?
Okay, 440 for 50. We'll agree somewhere in between there.
And all in one day, which is pretty impressive.
Which is quite a lot. That's a lot of pleading the fifth. Yeah. Now, he could take the fifth in this case as well when he testifies, right?
In theory, he could, although he did come back for a deposition. The problem for him is that in a criminal case, if a defendant doesn't have to testify against himself, that's what the Constitution guarantees, and you cannot infer guilt from a defendant's refusal to testify or his invocation of the Fifth Amendment. But in a civil case, if you assert the Fifth Amendment, the trier of fact, whether it be the judge, here it's the judge, or the jury in a jury case, can say, oh, he must have committed a crime. He thinks he did something wrong. And they can infer, and the jury would be, if there were a jury, the jury would be instructed that they can make an adverse finding on the questions that were asked. So what was the basis for this financial statement? I take the fifth. And the jury would be entitled to conclude, or the Justice Engoron is entitled to conclude, there was no basis.
Sounds guilty if you take the fifth. So as he's kind of watching his children testify here, what is he on edge that he's worried about hearing over the next couple of days?
I think he's going to be on edge hearing them admit that they didn't have a basis for things, or saying that daddy told me to do it. That's what I would be worried about if I were him. But I don't know. I don't know what they're going to say. That's what, that's what's
wildly interesting to
watch.
So this won't surprise you, I'm sure, but he's been fundraising off of
course, grift.
He's been fundraising off of the 14th Amendment challenge to his candidacy in Colorado. You can't make it up sometimes, but there's really no consequences to that. I mean, should there be? Could there be?
What do you mean, consequences?
I don't know, that he's fundraising off of these legal cases against him?
Actually, I think there should have been consequences, and there may yet still be consequences for the fundraising he did during the interregnum, when he was, when he was claiming that the election was rigged and saying that in trying to hold on to office, and he was saying he needed all this money he was raising all this money for legal challenges. Of course, it's hard to spend $250 million, which is what he raised in 2020, early 2021, on legal fees. I mean, and he didn't, and those fees have been used for that money has been used for other purposes. So, the question really is what are they saying to the potential marks, I will call them, who to send in their money? Are they lying to them? If so, I think that's fraud.
Well, it sounds like we have a lot to watch in this case. You don't even know what the children are going to say. So thank you so much for coming in today. Really appreciate talking with you this evening.